How's it going today, guys? So I thought I'd bring you something a little bit different than what you might be used to. We're gonna do a review of my bicycle. My bicycle is a Cannondale SuperSix Evo 5105. That means it's got the Shimano 105 group set on it, with an FSA front crank, compact crank. Anyways, my bike. I really like it. It's really stiff, which is great for climbing. It's really nice to have the 105 shifters up the top of the front. And on my older bike, I had an Ultegra group set. And it was older though, a little bit older, but this 105 is more responsive and better, especially when maintained, than the Ultegra group set, or I guess when not maintained. It wears better, it lasts longer between maintenances as far as how good it feels, and it's just fantastic. So, things that I think might need improvement. So the wheels. So the stock tires. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the really skinny tires. I think there were 25 millimeters on there at first. I went up to 28 millimeter tires. As you can see, they fit with plenty of room into the brakes. And so, honestly, I would try and put as big of a tire as you can on your road bike possible. It just makes the ride way more comfortable, and it makes it way more tolerable for long distance riding. Now, if you're road racing, that's a whole nother thing. Just put some skinny tires on there for that. But I find with these 28 tires, I get way less flats. This is my personal preference, of course, but I use specialized armadillos. It says Gripton on there. I don't know if that means anything, but I use specialized armadillos on all of my bikes. I just find they give the best flat protection, and I just love them. They're fantastic. They do a great job, and I haven't had a single flat since I've started using these tires. And I've got about 1,800 miles on these. My last set I put about 5,300 on them, and I only got one flat. So that was fantastic for me. Keeps the cost down. They cost a little more, but then you don't have to pay for tubes. As far as ride comfort goes, this frame it might sound a little bit tinny, but it is fantastic for ride comfort. I can ride a few hundred miles in a day, no problem. No pain, nothing. It feels great. Let me think. A personal modification, these aero bars, I guess that leads me to how well does this bike do for time trial events? And personally, I think it does fantastic. Now, as you can see, sorry, I've still got my Ironman Muncie stuff on here, but it's not a very well-rounded frame, and excuse the scratching. I've put my fair share of miles on there. It's not a very aerodynamic frame, I guess you could say. I mean, it's aerodynamic enough, but it's not very aerodynamic. But even with that, I found that because of its aggressive setup, I'm able to maintain 23 to 25 miles an hour on a good day, and I'm not the best rider. Riding isn't my best sport. And that's also just with these semi-broken mini TT bars. I think if I had a better setup, I'd be much better off. The Pro Logo saddle that it came with, I haven't replaced it yet. It's getting a little bit wobbly down here at the end. I don't know if that's normal or what. It's actually pretty soft. A little softer than I would like, but it's very comfortable, and I really don't have any complaints about it. I really like it. Yeah, it's just a really good saddle. As far as now, where this bike really comes into its own, I've found, and you wouldn't think it being a race bike, is for distance for me. When it comes to a really hilly long distance course, and you gotta side saddle it, and you gotta crank it back and forth a lot, this bike just comes into its own. It loves it. It loves going uphill, and it loves just shedding its weight like that. And then it's equally good at the downhill. You can tuck your butt underneath the seat, and get in a really aerodynamic position, grab the drop bars, and you will just fly down a hill. And it doesn't feel twitchy. It feels rock solid. It is so much better than any other bike I've had. Also, a fun fact, Since I've got a little wider tires on here, and I used to have, for a brief amount of time, some cyclocross tires on here, I used it off-road. Even on a few mountain biking trails, I went pretty slow, but I used it on some mountain biking trails, and it felt fantastic. This bike really just comes into its own in that setting too. It's probably in part it's lightweight, but I guess that doesn't really matter as much. It's more the weight of the rider than the bike always. Here, let me flip this around for you. So, I guess on the drivetrain portion, I really like the back crankset, or whatever it's called, the back chainring. I would like to put one that is a little bit bigger on there so that I can climb and I can spin more up climbs instead of having to get out of the saddle a little bit. And also, I would personally like to put a smaller front crankset on there. It would be nice to have a 3432. See, right now I've got a 3450, but yeah, I would like a 3432. That's just personal preference, though. I tend to do a lot of hilly riding, especially when I'm in Eastern Tennessee, and just being able to spin it out instead of grinding really helps you go further every day. But yeah, I better get back to the wheels. I didn't really describe it well. This has Shimano RS11s on it, and I got them thinking, oh, they're heavy, they're bad, I'm going to need a wheel upgrade soon. But they've held up for about 7,200 miles, which is fantastic. I've never had a wheel feel this good at this high a mileage before. So, yeah, I think I'll be able to get probably another 1,000 or 2,000 miles out of them. They're starting to feel a little bit different than they did at the start, but they're feeling good enough that I'm very happy with them still, and I have no problems with them. I'll probably upgrade, not to a set of carbon wheels, maybe a little bit wider or a little bit more deep dish aluminum wheels if I can find those. I don't know if they make those. That'd be nice because I do, obviously, as you see, a good amount of time trialing. And I guess a few of the last things, some custom touches I made. I just got a cheapy Roswheel saddlebag. No need to get a saddlebag that's on brand. It's just a waste of money. Get the cheapest one you can get that holds stuff and has straps onto the frames. The stem, this is actually a replacement stem. It's a little bit longer than the one they gave me. It's the same type, but it's longer. I like that better. I like to stretch out a little more, but some people might like to be more upright. This is a very down-angled bike, so that can get to you. Obviously, bottle cages. I like profile design, but I also used, I have an Overa one on there right now because my other profile design broke. And I got some Look clipless pedals on there. They're pretty torn up. I might get new ones soon, but really they do the job. Clipless pedals don't matter too much. Personal preference, if I were going to get new pedals, I'd get mountain bike style pedals, SPD pedals, probably Shimano XT. They're just a lot more comfortable, and you can ride places and get off your bike at places in mountain bike shoes and actually walk around inside without feeling like you're in high heels, except the heel isn't on your, or the high part isn't on your heel, it's on the ball of your foot, which sucks. But they're good for actual road riding. The brakes are fantastic. I'm about to replace the brake pads for the second time. I don't know, there's actually a good amount left. They're not feeling as good as they did, and they're not doing as well in the wet as they used to. Let's see, I think the rear, as you can tell, the rear, I've shaved a lot more off of it. I'm kind of a rear heavy breather. What am I talking about? I brake heavily on the rear. But yeah, one last thing. So I've ridden this like 7,800 miles. I've got more miles on this than my car right now. But this bike, it's 2 wheels. I've wrecked it. That's why I always recommend getting an aluminum bike for your first bike, so you at least know how to wreck when you're going to wreck, because you're always going to wreck sometimes on a bike, depending on how you ride. But I've wrecked it pretty hard, going like 40 miles an hour a few times, and all I've got are one scratch here. This has gotten itself torn up a decent amount. I might want to replace this little piece of rubber. It doesn't really do anything, but aesthetically it looks nasty. This Shimano 105 thing got dented nice and well, but it still works like it's good as new. My aero bar got clipped. I can just replace that though. And I think I've got a few scratches up along this top part of the frame. Yeah, I've got one right here. And somewhere or another I got one under there. Something must have come up and scratched it. But yeah. Oh, let's see. One more, maybe. I don't know. The derailleur got scratched up a bit, but that's not a big deal. But yeah, very minimal maintenance on this bike at car level mileage, and it's taken a beating, and it feels like it'll still continue to take a few more beatings. I plan to keep this bike probably 20,000 miles the way I like it right now. I've had it for 2 years, and I still love it. It's still the best bike I've ever owned. I've got lots of bikes. I've got a Shrek. I've got a Trek 1100. I had a Trek Madone, which I bought and sold to make a profit on. I've got a Specialized hard rock mountain bike. It's a piece of crap, but it's bulletproof. I've had quite a few bikes, but this one is by far my favorite. And I mean, it does come at a price. I got it for around $800 on heavy discount, but it went for about $2,000 at the time. You got to watch for that. But getting one of these used with, even just if someone had like 500 miles on one and he was selling them, I would buy it, no problem. No, not even think about it. I would buy one of these in a second. It's a fantastic bike, and if anyone's looking at it, I highly recommend it. But then again, it's all about personal preference, and make sure, even if you're going to buy one of these, that you take it to a professional. You make sure it's your size. You get your size from a shop, then you take this bike to a professional shop if it is your size, and you get yourself fitted, because bike fit is the most important part of riding a bike and being good and making sure you get the most out of your riding. Anyways, guys, I'm going to let you go with that. Let me know if one of you guys gets a Cannondale SuperSix Evo. It's a fantastic bike. I love it so much, and I would love to meet some other riders of it. Alright, guys, peace.